speak to the CEO in the moment, but let me tell you why we're there, because Old Mutual has swung back into profit in its half-year period. Now, as you say, Sally, this despite an increase in insurance death claims related to COVID-19 and the tough economic climate. The insurance and investment group posting a 3.3 billion rand after-tax profit in the 6 months to end June. Old Mutual paid out 10 billion rand in mortality claims during the interim period. The firm's wealth and management investment units also continuing to perform solidly. So let's bring in Old Mutual's Group CEO, Iain Williamson, to unpack those results. Iain, thanks indeed for waiting and talking to us. So you had to make greater payouts in death-related claims. I mean, it's another measure of how devastating this last COVID wave was, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We had set aside and estimated at the end of 2020 what we thought the death claims from COVID would likely be for both Wave 2 and Wave 3. And while we broadly got Wave 2 right at the time, we significantly underestimated the size of Wave 3. And I think I would attribute that to two things. One would be the Delta variant, which seems to be a lot more contagious than previous variants. And secondly, the pace of the vaccine rollout took a while to get going, and consequently, we didn't really have much protection from vaccination when Wave 3, came through the country.
Are you able to tell whether or not a death claim is directly related to COVID-19? We've been trying to get that answer out, but it seems to be increasingly difficult to ascertain.
No, Henny was speaking just now. I think gave a good summary. The reality is that on many death certificates, there is a space on the form to record cause of death, but often it is as vague as natural causes or unnatural causes. And so it's quite difficult to directly, from documentary evidence that's available from Home Affairs or from the next of kin, to assess the real cause of death. I would say that in our view, and based on what we see on our book of business as an insurer, the most reliable indicator of what's really going on is the South African Medical Research Council data on excess deaths. And I would say that, although it's not a 100% fit, the excess deaths that they report are likely to be in the majority COVID-related and not the other factors that Henny mentioned earlier.
Has it become more difficult to sign people up beyond life insurance? And I ask you this because we're going through a very difficult set of economic conditions at the moment. What's your take on the Old Mutual front?
Yeah, it is true that the volume of savings business that we sell has been under quite a bit of pressure, as has the volume of business from corporate and employee benefit schemes. We've seen businesses literally going out of business in places like the hospitality and tourism sector. And we've seen certain sectors downsizing, which means that, any corporate-related purchases of benefits for employees have been under considerable pressure. Savings business has been under pressure. Having said that, investment business and unit trust flows have actually held up remarkably well. But I would attribute some of that to the fact that markets have risen significantly in the last year, and so some confidence is returning, and also people, I think, who do have money are encouraged by what is happening in the market. But it's a little bit of a mixed bag across the piece there.
And you have swung back into profit, so that's pleasing news there. But just quickly before I let you go, you have new variants, you have vaccine hesitancy. I'm wondering what the next 6 months look like in terms of your expectations, Iain.
Yeah, well, as I say, we've tried hard. We prudently set aside provisions in advance of what we expect to see happen. So we tried to estimate what we think the impact will be over the next 6 months and into next year and even the year after that. But as you rightly point out, we do highlight that the two key uncertainties really are new variants, and not so much new variants that just cause infection, but those that might evade the vaccine and have severe health implications. And then clearly the pace of the vaccine rollout and people building up a level of resistance to severe illness and death is the critical factor for us. The front end of our business has recovered strongly, so our sales are doing well. We think that will continue, but the impact of future variation in death claims as a consequence of COVID is probably the biggest single short-term risk factor that we see.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Well, thanks very much indeed for your time. Old Mutual's Group CEO Iain Williamson there talking to us about those interim results and the impact of COVID.